Krishnamorthi is joining us now from Chicago. Sir, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
What's your reaction to this prominent former Obama White House official facing charges?
Well, as you know, it was connected to work that was done with Paul Manafort and in connection with promoting the interests of pro-Russian Ukrainian forces. And it had nothing to do with his time in the White House. However, he was not candid, and in fact, he lied to investigators about the extent of his promotion of their interests. And as we've learned from the Paul Manafort case and others, if you lie to federal investigators, you basically jeopardize going to prison.
What do you think this does to the president's argument that this is a political, basically that it's all sort of Democrats on Republicans? He tries to say that the Mueller team is all Democrats. They are not. And that this is sort of a political witch hunt. He also, I will say, he tweeted that the placement, he was complaining that this didn't get enough publicity, Greg Craig's indictment.
Well, it puts the lie to his statement. In fact, as you know, Special Counsel Mueller was a Republican, or is a Republican. I think the fact of the matter is that the Mueller probe had nothing to do with politics. It had to do with getting to the bottom of what happened in 2016, whether there was obstruction of justice, and whether there was efforts to aid the Russians in meddling in our democracy as well.
I want to ask you about Bill Barr, the Attorney General, because he has gotten a lot of notice for using the word spying to describe the FBI investigation of the Trump campaign's contacts with Russia. He did not cite any evidence to support that claim. That was part of the issue. And our Laura Jarrett's reporting is that sources close to Barr say he wasn't actually trying to use the word spying in a pejorative way. Do you believe that?
No, I think it was an irresponsible thing for him to say that without explaining himself. Basically, warrants for probable cause were issued by a court in connection with this electronic surveillance. Basically, the FBI did what it's supposed to do, which is to pursue criminal wrongdoing. And to equate that to spying is just simply outrageous. He's not the Attorney General for Donald Trump. He's the Attorney General for the United States.
I want to ask you about a story the president just commented on a short time ago, that he had a plan to take undocumented immigrants from the border and bus them to sanctuary cities, so cities run by Democrats, and release them onto the streets. The Washington Post reported this. We've confirmed this. What's your reaction to this? This was supposed to be retaliation against his political enemies.
Yeah, again, this is completely outrageous. Again, the president apparently brought up this suggestion, or his aides brought up the suggestion, and ICE officials immediately shot it down, according to Washington Post reports. And now he's bringing it up again in this tweet. This is, it's really unfortunate that, the president would think about using these children and these migrants as pawns in some kind of a political game. I think that rather than doing that, he should follow the law, and he should administer our immigration laws faithfully down at the border.
Two-thirds of the people who are coming to the border are women and children. And we know that from statistics coming from the Trump administration. But when you hear the president describe these immigrants, he describes them as rapists, as murderers, as criminals. He says they look like heavyweight fighters. With that in mind, I mean, you look at this with a different idea of who these undocumented immigrants are, but that's what he's describing. So knowing that that's what he's describing, depositing into cities, I mean, what do you think what was he trying to achieve? What would he be trying to achieve with that?
He's trying to create fear. I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to create fear among people throughout the United States about these migrants. I think that, as you mentioned, these women and children are basically fleeing violence in Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and other places. And rather than trying to stem this migration at the source, we also heard this week from people like Attorney General Barr and others, Mike Pompeo, that there might be assistance that's actually cut off or curtailed to these countries that are really trying to deal with the violence and what's driving these people to our borders. I really think that not stemming that migration at the source, along with a zero-tolerance policy at the border, namely prosecuting criminally all those who are basically trying to cross into our country, whether they're asylum seekers or not, is completely wrong.
All right, Congressman Krishnamoorthi, thank you for joining us.